oh, what am I going to do? Which one? And then I had this like epiphany. I can do both. And that's for everyone. Like, you don't have to choose. You really can have it all. It's just really figuring out what works for you and how you can make it happen for yourself.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Good. Can you hear me all good? Can everyone hear me?
Yes, yes. I was so excited to do this. Thanks for doing the live with us. And I
Woo!
think,
Me too.
yes, and I think what's so cool about you is your unique background. So I
Yeah.
want to give you the floor. A lot of this live is going to be you sharing your personal journey and your story with everyone from career to personal life and everything in between, the ups and downs of what you've gone through to get to where you are today. So the floor is yours and I'll let
Yeah.
you take it away.
Yeah, totally. Awesome. So yeah, I feel like there's so many complex avenues, but I'm gonna do my best to synopsize it. But yeah, I so really graduated college, and really came out and was like, I have no idea what I want to do. And a lot of people, like I mentioned before, talk about the transition from high school to college, and how that can be challenging. And yes, it has its challenges, but I feel like at least for me, it was nothing compared to college to really adulthood, you know? Um, so I had no idea what I wanted to do. Originally, I wanted to travel for a little bit. And my parents were like, nope, you just got this degree, like you are getting a job. And I was like, fair enough, makes sense. So just kind of like dove into 9 to 5, but I could feel something on my heart that that wasn't it for me. But I am grateful for those experiences because it just like, it all ends up working out so well. And so kept going in 9 to 5, had a really good position on paper. And then with 2020, like a lot of people, I feel like it really gave me the time to dive into, is this truly what I want out of life? And I realized I was living the life that I thought that I had to live versus the life that I truly wanted to live. So really that took me just diving down that road, really dove into the whole life coaching world and personal development. And it is such an incredible world once you're a part. It's just such a unique environment and community, that I absolutely love. So really did that work of identifying what it is that I truly wanted out of this life and defining my own version of success. And I realized I was getting a lot of my worth actually out of my title and my position at the time. So also shifting how I could stop getting my worth and not my worth, but stop getting my validation from external sources and shifting to that to completely like within me. And so just doing a ton of that work. And through that, I just really want everyone to have these tools and be able to live that life and live the life that they really want to live. And then create that for themselves and be able to even define what that is for them. Like, what is that life for them? And so really dove into that. And then I found Yesify because I have a background in psychology and communications, but I wanted something within the life coaching space. And I actually searched for quite a long time and then came upon Yesify, and I was like, I had no questions asked. So I just was like, okay, when do I sign up? And yeah, it just has given me even more tools to better serve my clients and practices and just like a lot of information about the subconscious mind and how that plays into it was huge for me, and learning those, and then the tools that we have to just better serve my clients moving forward from here. So yeah. And then a little bit also, when I was kind of figuring out what I wanted to do, because I also do snowboard. A lot of the people on here know that it's a huge part of my life. I love activities, like all sports, everything, just my favorite, and snowboarding as well. So I had these two things that I loved. I loved mindset and just living your best life and getting that from within, and using yourself to do that, and the mindset work and all that. But then I also love life coaching. I mean, I also love snowboarding and activities and all of that. So I really felt like, oh, what am I going to do? Which one? And then I had this like epiphany. I guess it could seem obvious to some people, but an epiphany, I was like, I don't have to choose. I can do both, I can have both. And that's for everyone. Like, you can have both. You don't have to choose. You really can have it all. It's just really figuring out what works for you and how you can make it happen for yourself. And so, yeah, so now we are here. And I really focus on working with my clients to basically do what I do. And that's like, the best coach is the coach that's where you want to be and that has gone through what you are going through now. Because it's not that someone's ahead of someone or behind someone, just that they've gone through it. So they really know how to guide you, to lead you to guide yourself through it, and have the tools that they use. So that's really what my focus is in my business, is helping women specifically to uncover what it is they truly want and desire. And then with that, when you kind of figure out what you want, those limiting beliefs actually naturally come up, because you are like, I want this, but then those limiting beliefs come up of like, why do you think you can't have it? And then kind of dissecting those and diving into those limiting beliefs and working through them, and then creating that mindset shift from scarcity to that abundance mindset. For me, that was huge. I grew up in a very scarcity focused household, so that is like a big focus of mine, and where a big transition comes in for me. But yeah, so now I do that, and I snowboard, and I help women to just create their best life and just get that validation from within. And it's just, yeah, it's awesome. It's a dream come true, definitely. And it's still a work in progress, but yeah, I'm loving it. So
that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all that. And you had so many good points that you touched on that I kind of want to go back and talk about a little bit with you.
Yeah.
And I think one big one that I resonated with so much, and I know we have so many like young coaches in our community, with that transition from school to adulthood, whether you're in school or you're just transitioning in your 20s and kind of trying to figure out, what is that thing I want to do? And you talked about maybe doing a job that your parents thought that you should do or society thought you should do, the traditional mold, but breaking free of that and figuring out, oh, what is it that I want? So how did you make that mindset shift, and what advice would you give to people who are maybe in a similar boat to where you were?
Yeah, really just dissecting that, because I worked out of college for 4 years in a 9-to-5 in a job, and at first, when I thought about making the transition out, I had these like kind of resistance come up of, oh, what would people think? What would my parents think? All of this stuff. And really how I dissected that was sitting down, and I asked myself, genuinely, do I want to live for me, or do I want to live by the opinions of others? And that was a huge, impactful question for me, because I really actually would go future pace, say 30 years down the line, if I'm living based on my fears of society and other people and my parents, then how would I feel? This is really, at the end of the day, it's our life, and dissected that, and then really defined my own version of success and what success was for me, and then what I truly wanted out of this life. And it's actually crazy. My parents have been so supportive, and it's funny because you worry, and then they really, honestly, this is one of my pieces of advice, at least how I handled that first when I said that I was making the transition. I kind of set a boundary, and setting boundaries with people for me, it was it helped with the transition. The first time I told them, I was like, hey, I just kind of want to like set the boundary. I'm just kind of sharing with this with you. At this point, I'm not really looking for feedback in this space. And they totally were like, all right. And they listened, and that they just have been so supportive and so excited about just my life coaching side, and then snowboarding, and just all of it coming together. They are just, so supportive. So it is interesting. People will surprise you as well. But really, at the end of the day, focusing on who are you living for? Are you living for what you truly want, or living by the opinions of others, and what is important to you? So yeah, piece of advice is just to really dive into those things. Sit down with yourself. Take the time to ask, what do you want? And it can be an uncomfortable, because sometimes we go with the movement of life and we don't take that time to sit with yourself. So that's where sometimes having a coach is really important. I worked with coaches as well and did a ton of master classes and programs, because for me, it was helpful to have someone to almost like give me that container and that space to work through those things, and just really decide that. But journaling, a huge practice for me as well, and really helpful for a lot of people to really sit with yourself and ask yourself those questions.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's such great advice. And I love that question. Who are you living for? And it is so important to have a coach who holds that space for you and asks you those questions, because sometimes we don't naturally think to ask those things of ourselves. It's so much easier to follow the mold of what people have set up for us and have planned for us than it is to really think, oh, what do I want? Who am I living for? What are the possibilities for me? And you're so right that people in your life who may not have been supportive before, when you start working on yourself and your own personal development journey and your own healing journey, they come around. Like, those people do surprise you, and they'll come around and say, oh, you know what? I love this for you. And I love seeing you doing something you're passionate about. And like you said, your parents are so supportive now. So I always tell people, if you follow your gut and follow your passions, you'll be led in the right direction. And then those people will follow suit, hopefully. So I love that. That's great advice.
Yeah. And sometimes even it's almost like your mind playing tricks on you, but these people are going to really support you. You know, when you have that confidence from within, that spreads onto those other people. And yeah, people will definitely surprise you. And I want you to succeed, really, and just really can see when you're following your passions and get excited for you. So it's awesome.
I love that. And another thing that you talked about, you kind of talked about where you were getting your worth from. And I think that's such a cool conversation. So you said you were seeking it externally. So you're seeking external validation and you look to turn it inward. So can you explain a little bit to our community about how you did that, what you had to overcome to get there? Because I think that's such a common thing, to look outside of ourselves to say, am I good enough? Am I worthy? But at the end of the day, it does come from within. But what things did you have to do to make that shift?
Yeah, totally. So even just honestly, the observation, because when I no longer worked at the 9 to 5 as a project manager, what I was doing, I realized like, wow, I had a lot of my worth tied to that. So just even creating the awareness around that, and then figuring out, okay, where do I want to really get my validation from? And the answer was from within. I want to be able to give myself that validation. And it is a process. It takes some time. Working with a coach for me was huge, to work through that, but also just a lot of switching my self-talk, to be honest. And that's where it takes a little bit of time, but switching that narrative for myself of that didn't come with that. I'm worthy because I just am, because I am born. There is nothing that changes our worth. We are worthy, just period, because we are, and that's done, you know? And then just reminding myself of that and shifting that. And then when it started, say if I had a thought and I could tell it's in a different direction of seeking that external validation, reminding myself that doesn't need to come externally. And even nothing externally will ever be able to give us the validation we're looking for. That's why some people feel like they're searching and searching and searching, and say it'll come for a little bit, you know, like it helps for a little bit, but then it doesn't. And that's not saying that we're still not going to love when someone, you know, gives us a great testimonial. That definitely still lights you up and fuels your soul, but it's not where you're getting your worth from. It's not, I'm worthy because of this testimonial. It's, I'm worthy because I am worthy, but I am grateful that I'm able to pour into people and give that. So it's really changing that narrative for you. And it's a daily practice, definitely. But it really is so rewarding when you realize that that's no longer rooted in that. So those changes can shift. Say if you're not rooted with your worth and your business may for a month be suffering in a sense, not suffering, but not have the same rate that it did the month before, but realizing that that's my worth. That doesn't change my worth and how worthy I am, that you just are because you are. So
I love that. I love that saying, I'm worthy because I am. That's so powerful. And it's so true. If we have our worth tied up in external things, those things aren't reliable, right? We're not always going to be told we're pretty enough, smart enough, good enough, worthy enough, all the things. Like the only person or thing that can tell us that is us, and it's within. So I think that's so beautiful. And it's so well said, especially with work. It's so easy to tie ourselves up in work. And if we're doing a good enough job at work, and if our boss or our coworkers or our clients are saying we're doing good enough, but at the end of the day, the one constant is us and our heart. So I think that's so beautiful. I'm worthy because I am. I'm going to take that away with me. I love that.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And it's very common. So don't beat yourself up if you're not there and if you're still working on getting your validation from within, because it's a practice and it's just over time, and give yourself grace and be patient with yourself. But yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And another thing you were talking about, which I think is such a cool topic to discuss, are multi-passionate people. So you said you're a snowboarder, which is so cool that you do snowboarding. And also you're like, I also love personal development and coaching. And you talked to me a little bit about how you were trying to navigate, what do I want to post about, or who am I? How am I branding myself? What do I want to talk to people about? What do I want to offer to people? So for people who are like multi-passionate entrepreneurs, or they want to be a coach and they're also like, they make pottery or whatever it is, like, what advice do you have for people who do have different passions and maybe they feel like they have to pick one path? What did your path look like when choosing that? And what advice would you give to people?
Yeah, just for me personally, that you don't have to decide. You can have both and look for ways to incorporate both, and just showing up authentically, with snowboarding, and then with my coaching, I decided to actually create a coaching page. So I had a space just specifically for that, but then I'm still incorporating it somewhat here as well because it's a big part of my passion. But that you really don't have to decide, but look for ways to incorporate both of them, and that you can have both of them. Like the pottery example of like making pottery, and you love personal development and positive quotes and incorporating that you could even implement that into your pottery, or with content creation, working with brands that are focused on like personal development and that sort of thing. So there's so many different sides that you can really mesh them both together. But again, taking that time with yourself and being like, okay, what do I really want? And what are some ideas for, combining these things, and joining communities or having people in your life and seeing that there's honestly Facebook groups and different stuff of people that can give you ideas. If you're like, hey, I'm kind of stuck on how I could combine both of these things, people are amazing and have incredible minds, and they can help to, spark something that you're like, I didn't even think of that, But yeah, just you can have multiple passions and they actually align. Like for snowboarding, there's mindset is huge into snowboarding, especially as a park rider. This season, I actually had a ton of mental blocks within tricks because I had fallen. And I had never taken a fall like that, and it affected me for a little bit. But with the tools I had, I was able to work through and get my mindset back. And just so your mindset plays into every part of your life. And when you work with your mindset, it works for you, because your mindset, and my like biggest belief is your life is as good as your mindset. That is just a hard stone belief that I have. And it's very true, because you can focus on everything you have, and then you are you're in a vibration and in a space of gratitude and stuff. So just focusing on, I have these two passions, and think of it as more of like an exciting thing. Like, I have so many things I love. Like, how exciting is that? Like, I have so many things that I'm passionate about. So how can I find ways to create them and work with them together and incorporate them together?
Oh, I love that. And it's so true. Mindset can be incorporated with everything. So if you're someone who does pottery and mindset work or whatever it is, like
Yeah.
that can be incorporated in so many different fields. I love that. And I also love what you said about showing up authentically. I
Yeah.
think it makes someone, especially people we follow online, it makes them feel so much more real if they're showing different facets of their life, right?
Yeah.
Like if you only posted snowboarding pictures, but we never saw any other side of you, it wouldn't be as cool as like, oh my gosh, look, she also loves mindset and she also has family and friends and whatever. Like, I think it's so cool to see all of the different aspects of people's lives. And
Yeah.
I know with Reese, like when she shows up on our Instagram, she'll post her family and her home and coaching and being a business owner. And it's so amazing to see those different the aspects of people's lives. So I think you're so right. It's showing people that you're a whole person and you have different passions, and that's what makes you unique and sets you apart. So, and like embrace that. I love you saying that, like embrace that, because it's a beautiful and special thing.
Yeah. It's exciting, and it doesn't have to be this or that. It can be all of it. You can love different things and have different passions simultaneously. So it's just exciting.
I love that so much. It's so good. That's such a good takeaway from this conversation. And then, so one question I've been asking all of our students is, from the program or techniques that you know, do you have a favorite technique that you use for your personal life? And then a favorite technique that you use with your clients?
Yeah. I'm really excited because I have a couple more weeks. So I have a couple techniques coming up that I'm really excited for. But the technique right now, I really love parts integration, because that comes into part of me wants this and part of me wants this, but really realizing that it actually have the same goal. And then neural energetic wiring, looking into your subconscious and really diving back deep into where these things stem from and the limiting beliefs, because that's a huge, huge piece of it. So those two things for me are really big that I take forward and use for myself. Definitely.
I love it. Those are some of my favorite ones. The parts integration always comes up. And now I notice it in my regular life. I'll like be out and about and I'll hear people saying, well, part of me wants to do this, but part of me wants to do that. Yeah. And my brain always clicks. I'm like, I could help you. I know what you need to do.
I have a solution for this.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. And so the last thing that I kind of want to end on is just what's next for you, and like letting our community know about like what you're up to, what you're offering, and what's next for you.
Oh, exciting. So I offer one-on-one right now in my space. I have 2 different programs, so you can reach out to me. I also have the link in my bio for a lot of that, but definitely reach out to me so we can chat. And moving forward, I am working on a program, and that is in the works, but coming soon. And then as well as I have a big passion for combining both of my loves and doing a women's retreat. I know I briefly talked to you about it. It gets me so excited, but creating a retreat called Soul and Surf and Soul and Snowboard. So connecting with yourself and then the sisterhood, and then also having activities with one's going to be for surfing and then one for snowboarding as well. So combining that down the line is a huge vision of mine and something I'm very excited to come.
Oh, that's so exciting. And it's a prime example of like, you can have both. You're taking both of your passions and bringing it into a retreat. That's so cool.
Exactly. Yeah. It's always something that's been on my heart. So I'm just really excited to have the tools now to really bring it to fruition, and working with other coaches and having them come to the retreat, and have different mentors and meditation and different practices. And then being able to also go out and do the activities and just have fun and be in flow and alignment and just enjoyment of just moving your body and enjoying those activities. So
I love that. That's going to be amazing. I can't wait to hear all about it. And I'm so happy for you, and you're awesome. And I'm so appreciative that you've come on this live and had this conversation with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me and just holding this space. And you just have the kindest and just best energy. So
Thank you. So do you. Oh my gosh, so do you. Yes, it's always a pleasure talking to you. And then also, I wanted to say for anyone listening who's listening to this and they're like, oh my gosh, I might want to do coaching, or I want to learn these tools and techniques that Cierra is talking about that she loves. We have spaces open in the Yes Supply method. So if you're interested in joining us, you can send me a DM at Yes Supply right here. And I'll get back to you. I'll be in the DMs all day long. You can also email us hello@yessupply.co, and I'll be around. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there in case there's anyone who's interested. But this was so great, Cierra. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and if anyone has any questions from the student side, definitely reach out to me for Yes Supply. I can answer all of your questions of how it is on the student side. So
yes. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. And I love sending people to our students to get a testimonial because you have a firsthand perspective of what it's like to be a student and go through everything. So yes, definitely reach out to Cierra if you have questions too.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for everyone that tuned in. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Cierra. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.